I can tell you right now where depressions come from. 100% depressions come from the flawed education system. Because the way the human brain was programmed, okay, it was programmed in the way so that you come out of it with a fixed negative mindset, okay? It was the surface learning mindset. Here is the information, memorize it, do the test, get graded, get labelled, and then through that self-label, okay, you then now create that fixed negative mindset. Most kids went into an education system fearless, wanting to take risks, fearless of making mistakes, fearless of failure, dreams of what they wanted to be. And all of a sudden, they've come out of it fearful, scared, avoiding mistakes, avoiding failure. If you make a mistake and fail, oh, that's bad, that's really bad, you're going down. And so when that relationship of failure and mistakes brings you down into this fixed negative mindset, all of a sudden anxiety kicks in, and over a long period of time, slowly becomes depression. And there's no way you're going to break out of that. Why? How are you going to break out of it? Media is 99% negative. Social media is 99% negative. All the conversations that most people are having are always negative. Everyone's a victim of something. Every conversation that you monitor, any conversation you have in the next 24 hours, they're all going to be, I'm a victim of something, gossiping about someone, angry with someone, negative. And that's why we have a world full of people on anxiety, depression. Pharmaceuticals are making billions out of this. And the bad thing about this, when you get into that state of mind, your brain neurons are just regressing because your self-esteem just keeps dropping. And so I've created this, I just wrote this just now, an education system that predominantly self-label everyone. In fact, yesterday I heard from someone that works for me, and we were just having this conversation, and he's not a student of mine, we were just having this conversation. He said, you know what, my grade 5 teacher said to my parents that I'm not academic. A grade 5 teacher telling a parent that your kid is not academic. That's bullshit. Automatically the kid just self-labels. He had a negative fixed mindset for a long time, and he couldn't break that because that kept on reappearing back in the brain. And so all these grading and self-labeling that was programmed through the education system created depression. It's the way the brain was coded, the way the brain was programmed. Now I'm in AI, and I program and code AI to do it what I want it to do. And if you want a certain model, if you want a certain outcome, you program that way. And so if you want a population that's going to listen to you, that's going to abide by the rules and do everything that you say and follow what you say and not have too many deep learners that are going to challenge you, hey, I'd probably code it that way too. Let's talk about depression, because depression is self-made. It's self-made by humans through the education system. Okay? Mistakes and failure. People fear failure and people fear making mistakes. Why? Because you've got a relationship now that I'm not going to try that because I'll fail. I'm not going to try that because I'll make a mistake and I'll look embarrassed in front of my friends. I can tell you right now, I've done some really bad videos. I don't give a fuck. I'll tell you this right now. Because when you change the relationship of failure and mistakes, when you change that relationship, okay, you're recoding your brain. I tell my daughters, I say to my daughters at the end of every week, I want to hear about your failure stories. I want to hear about the mistakes you made this week. And if they tell me they didn't fail and they didn't make mistakes, I know they haven't taken enough risks. I know they haven't tried things that are beyond them because they're too scared to make mistakes. And for me, I look at the failure rate because I want them to fail. I want my students to make mistakes because you have to take risks. And when you're a deep learner, as deep learning, this relationship changes. And this negative, fixed mindset dies because it gets replaced with just a growth mindset, a growth positive mindset. Your relationship with yourself changes because once your relationship with failure and mistakes change, okay, once you don't feel embarrassed about failure and mistakes, once you don't care about failure and mistakes, because to do great things as a deep learner, you have to make mistakes. You have to take risks. Intelligence is the capacity of solving problems towards your ecstatic desire. Intelligence is solving problems even when you don't have the skill sets and knowledge to do so, which means you have to jump. You've got to jump in. Take that first step. Don't procrastinate. Biggest cause of procrastination is the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of us looking bad in front of our peers. And so what happened with the education system? People avoided making mistakes. People avoided failure. So we did everything we can to avoid those mistakes. We stopped taking risks. We stopped trying new things. Maybe we did take some which we made a mistake and our neighbour said, you're an idiot, and our parents or our relatives said, oh, you stupid idiot, and that hurt our self-esteem. Oh, I won't try that again. Oh, I won't try that again. Oh, if you're going to try that, you remember what happened 2 years ago? You know, you always hear the story, and I hear this from my students, but I know this, right? You always hear the story, what you're doing, this person did it 5 years ago, and some idiot in the family who's always got the negative stories, always got the example of someone trying something similar to you, and you know what? Oh, they tried it and they failed, they lost a lot of money. Okay, so you always hear these people talking about it, but you know what? Have a look at that person that's actually giving you that story. Look at their lives. Are they successful? Are they where you want to be? Are they doing what you want to be doing? Because I can tell you right now, the most successful people that I know, and 4 of them are my mentors, okay, they're always about fighting, solving problems towards your ecstatic desire. And 4 of my mentors are always making mistakes. They're always failing daily because they're taking risks. We don't stop. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Nelson Mandela, Kobe Bryant, all these great characters, you think they've never made a mistake. They fail daily. Elon Musk fails daily. Elon Musk is always making mistakes because that's the process of being a deep learner. The relationship they have with failure and mistakes is a strong, positive relationship because they're chasing an ecstatic desire. That's why, as a deep learner, absence of an ecstatic desire means that we don't have something strong enough to push us towards that target so that we know that we're making mistakes and failure. That's part of the process. Like my daughter today said she's going to make a chocolate mud cake. And you know what? I'm not going to help her. I'm not going to help her at all. She's spent 2 hours in the kitchen. She's going to try it. She's going to do her own thing. Whatever she's going to do, she's going to get 0 assistance from me. She's probably going to make mistakes and she's probably going to fail, and that's okay. And she may end up making a bad cake, and that's okay. Mind you, pretty hard to make a bad mud cake, but you know what? She may end up doing it. However, she has to make those mistakes. She has to get that experience. She has to feel it and say, you know what? I made some bad cake. Okay, let's reflect. Where did you go wrong? You've got to go through that. And it's okay. And so The reason depression and anxiety is so high in the world at the moment is because people have a relationship with failure and mistake, which is fearful. So, I won't do that thing today. I won't do that. What I'll do, I'll sit down, I'll scroll on social media, and then I'll get into the addictions. Because that's how it works. We avoid doing things in our lives out of fear of failure and making mistakes. Our self-esteem starts to drop. And as your self-esteem and confidence starts to drop, guess what happens? Anxiety rises. And as anxiety rises, why does anxiety rise? Because your self-value drops. You feel like, well, I'm not contributing enough. Your fundamental emotion, which is 95% of who you are, which is your inner emotion, okay, which is 95%, not your outer emotion, not your superficial emotion, which is what you show the world. It's who you are. It's the only person that you have a relationship with that you know 100%. They're your inner emotion, okay? You can't lie to it. Doesn't matter what you say to the rest of the world, the inner emotion, which makes up of self-value, self-reliance, self-esteem, security, recognition, love and creativity. You need to be feeding all 7. But when you start eliminating those, when your self-value drops and your self-esteem drops, you're going to get unhappier. Anxiety is going to kick in. When you start dropping them all, and it's done over a longer period of time, depression's going to kick in. You're going to avoid everything. You're going to avoid talking to people because you're scared. You don't want to make a mistake. And I say, as a deep learner, we want to make mistakes. It's okay. Part of being an individual, it's how we grow. So the whole education system was about people coming out of it with a fixed negative mindset, so then they wouldn't try things that were too risky, they wouldn't try things that were too far out there. And mind you, most people never found their ecstatic desire, because you were never taught how to find that ecstatic desire. What's an ecstatic desire? An ecstatic desire is when you combine your passion, your hobby, your creativity and your problem solving skills into one times it by 1,000. That's your ecstatic desire. You can't just wake up one day and say, this is my ecstatic desire. It's a skill set to find it, because once you find what your ecstatic desire is, that's 90% there. Your life changes. Chasing your ecstatic desire is the easiest part, because that's easy. Once you've found it, everything becomes deliberate. And as a deep learner, chasing your ecstatic desire, you're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, but you don't care, because every time you fail and make mistakes, we reflect, because reflection is a massive deep learning practice. And every time you reflect, you grow and develop. You keep going the following day. You keep going the following day until you grow and develop. So depression was self-made by the education system. Let's not kid ourselves here. It created low self-esteem, low confidence, which increases anxiety, increases depression rates. Low self-value, in other words, your value declines, which led to addictions. Self-value drops, your love drops. As your self-value drops, your love for yourself drops. And when your love for yourself drops, your love for others drop. And then when your love for others drops and your love for self drops, then your anger rises. Then you start to feel the victim. You start to feel the hatred. You start to do the gossip. You start to complain. Complaining without a solution leads you to depression. If you're just a complainer, complaining with no solutions, no attempt to solve the problem, that's going to lead you to depression. Let's have a look at the addictions. Let's have a look at all of the addictions. Think about the addictions. The biggest addictions in the world at the moment. Sugar, surprise, surprise. Junk food, surprise, surprise. Social media, all negative, 99% negative. What's on social media? Everyone's a victim. Everyone's being bullied. Everyone's insulting each other. It's such an angry place to be on. Harmful place and a dangerous place, especially for kids. The way they're sexualizing kids is crazy. No one's doing anything about it. Pornography. Pornography is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Someone's watching pornography all the time, okay? And alcohol. Surprise, surprise. And if you think about these addictions, okay, all those addictions are really bad for the human. But someone's making billions and billions and billions out of this in all aspects because it's bad for the human body. It's bad for the brain. All those things. Sugar's bad for the brain. Alcohol's bad for the brain. Drugs is bad for the brain. Social media is bad for the brain. Pornography is bad for the brain. And it's unhealthy. And so yet people have become addicted to this because of the depression and anxiety rate so high. And people are making billions and billions out of this. And then people are getting sick. So they're making billions and billions out of that. And then it's a society that becomes more like robots and less like deep learning humans. And I'll finish with this quote. There's a reason why Rockefeller had once said, when he was helping change the education system back in the 1920s, because this is where the education system first stemmed from and changed worldwide, in particular the West. He said, we cannot control. He was writing these letters. So it's not, he was sending these cables and telegrams to politicians. We cannot control a world full of deep learners and deep thinkers. Think about that for one moment and let that sink in. Because what's a deep learner? A deep learner throws all this away. Because as a deep learner, the moment you find your ecstatic desire, everything in your life changes. You're always solving problems. You're always getting new experiences. Your self-value rises because every time you're chasing something and you make a mistake, this is fantastic because I'm chasing my ecstatic desire, and every time I make a mistake and fail, I'm reflecting, I identify the mistakes and I try again the following day. And every time I solve a problem, I'm getting closer and closer. And every time the journey of chasing your ecstatic desire, that journey, as you start walking, you're adding value. You're adding value. And then as you're adding your value, guess what happens? Your self-esteem rises. And as your self-esteem rises and your own personal value rises, guess what happens? You feel more secure. And as you're feeling more secure, the depression starts to go away because you're starting to find yourself. You're starting to find who you are. You're starting to see who you are. And then what happens is you become happier because you start to love yourself. Your inner emotion starts to think, you know what, I actually love me. I love myself. So you start loving others. You start to recognize the complainers and the gossipers and all these complainers and gossipers. Remember, they're not bad people. They've been programmed that way, just like you were, just like I was, just like the majority of us were. We have to help them break that as well. Because once you free yourself from that, your brain starts to grow and develop, and then we kill the addictions. If you kill the addictions, which a lot of people don't want. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of powerful people out there that don't want the addictions I just spoke about to be killed. Because they're going to lose a lot of money. And there's a lot of industries that are going to lose out. I'm saying let's kill these addictions. And you do it by reprogramming your brain. And deep learning education is very simple. I've created a deep learning billionaire mindset specifically because that is about chasing an ecstatic desire, solving problems towards it. And through that process, you cannot complete this course without making money. And you come in with a positive attitude. And every time you're doing a class, and every time you're doing an activity, and every time you're making a mistake or failing, you feel great because you're getting closer to that target. And your self-value rises, your self-esteem rises, your security rises. And then what happens is people start to recognize you. They start to recognize your work, they start to recognize your value. Because when you're doing something, you know what, for me, the greatest moment was when you're doing stuff and someone is benefiting from that. So somewhere someone is actually benefited. And I was fortunate enough last year that I created a beginner's deep learning course. I had about 1,350 students, and in many ways I feel like they taught me. They gave me so much information, they gave me so much data to learn from. They were teaching me daily, because for me it wasn't just enough that they did the course and that's it. I needed to make sure that I was affecting change. And in many ways, and I'm comparing this to last year, I feel like I've created a better product because of them. I feel like I've grown into a better teacher because of them. Because I feel like the more they better their life, the more they better their life, the more they increase their value, the more they increase their self-esteem. And a lot of them, as they increase their confidence and self-esteem, as they increase their self-esteem and their confidence, and as their self-value was growing up, because they're doing stuff, they're taking actions, they're experiencing something new, they're being creative, they're unafraid of feeling failure, and they can feel the growth. I'm not telling them, they feel the growth. And as they're growing and growing and growing, all of a sudden the depression starts to decline and the addictions start to go away. And that's when you will start to feel and see the growth. The thing is, it's an individual thing. So as you start moving forward, and as you start 2 or 3 steps forward, you're going to say, oh my God, you know what? There's been a switch. Something in my brain has been reprogrammed. And the key is this: not for the education system to program your brain. And if you're a parent, not for the education system to keep reprogramming your brain. The key is for you to take control of your brain, so that you program and reprogram your brain, and then you're also then programming and reprogramming your kid's brain. Because the only person, the only people, the only thing that can program and reprogram your kid's brain and the next generation are the parents, not the institution. Don't let the education system do that to your kids, because they're just going to follow that process. Most of the teachers don't even know this. They've been programmed this way going back 100 years. The parents. And so as you become a deep learner, you'll reprogram your brain, and then you are then programming your kid's brain. And as they become a deep learner, they start to change, and they get out of this cycle, this vicious, ugly cycle, which all ends up into depression and addictions. So, as I tell all my students, get to work, take actions, be fearless, take risks, and be unafraid, because you have that genius potential, and it doesn't matter what age you are. Because the same system told old people that you're old, the same system told old people that you should retire, the same system told old people, hey, you should go into a nursing home. This same system now is why a lot of older people who've got so much talent, who've got so much to give, the moment the brain listens and hears retirement, that's code for I am getting ready to die. And they sold you this to the education system as if, hey, retire and you live freely now. Now you've worked 40, 50 years, now go and live freely. They gave you a job that you didn't even like. They gave you a label that you didn't even agree with. You hated your job. People now are retiring from something that they hated, because if you're a deep learner, you're chasing your ecstatic desire, you're always going to love that. It's the lifestyle. You're always going to live your life to the fullest, because what you're doing daily, you're growing. It's the growth mindset forever. That's why as a deep learner, you just keep peaking. And that's why there's a lot of people that are older that have got so much potential, enormous potential, and unfortunately society is basically says, you're too old, go to the nursing home, go there, watch TV all day, go on social media all day, be depressed, and you know what, have some alcohol, have some food, and then just wait to die. I don't know about you, but I don't buy that system. And that system is a flawed system, and it's a system that right now, with the rise of AI, and the rise of AI, not just affecting the oldies, but affecting everyone, it's time for the rise and the return of the human.